Welcome to the session which is about building versatile data quality indicators, hosted by IntelliFlex Johan Koopmans. This session will be about to improve decisioning by embedding information quality context within your analytic platform. Presentation highlights. First, you will be given a functional baseline about what we're going to establish within the session. Next to this, we will show how to build such data quality indicator within Microsoft Analysis Services. And finally, you will find some examples within analytic, some mainstream analytic and reporting clients. Let's take a look at the functionality we're going to establish within this session. I'll show the functionality to be established using Microsoft Excel 2013. I'll connect to Analysis Service and build a pivot table report. We'll connect again to the familiar AdventureWorks, which has had some slight modifications. And I'll be using the reseller sales, which stores two data quality measures: sales amount, which shows the sales amount with negative, and the sales amount indicator, which will show 1 if a transaction is negative. I'll show the actual sales amount. So as we notice, we have 46,000 of negative sales against 80 million of reseller sales. I can show my key performance status. It imminently shows a traffic light, and when it's green, my data is trustworthy. If it's red, it's not trustworthy. And of course, the nice thing of working on a cube is everything is context driven. So when I change my geography, as you notice, Australia, the numbers are going to change, and my ratio in here will also change. So for instance, I'm a country manager and I would like to investigate my data on business type. I can imminently see the values. What I notice here, we have 2 negative transactions within Australia. And if I would like to watch the percentage, as we notice at the specialty bike shop, we have 2 negative transactions, which together add up for 2,500. So, assume we want to drill down to the specific transactions. How could we do it? The lowest granular level of the reseller sales is the order number and the line number. So we can easily filter at the line number level and choose the sales amount indicator, which is larger than 0. So now we effectively have all negative transactions within Australia. And as you'll notice, the data quality indicator, the traffic light, also changes into red, because it's a full 100%. Sales amount is 2,500, while the negative amount is also 2,500. We can drill through at the order line level, and we can perform an action, which is called View Transactions and Client Applications. So now we're going to hop to the client application. And we can immediately notice the transaction with the client application and the owner of the data. So what we've shown here is the functional baseline to be established. So now we've seen the functional baseline. How does our recipe within Analysis Services look like? We're going to change the data source view to capture the negative sales transactions. We're going to add a calculation within the cube. We're going to add a key performance indicator. And finally, we're going to do a transaction, an action drill through to the URL, to the client application. So let's take a look where the magic comes from. I opened the AdventureWorks cube, which you can find on the Microsoft site. It's a well-known tutorial. And I did some brief modifications to record the data quality indicator. And these modifications are made within the reseller sales magic group. And I started with changing the data source view, the reseller sales facts. So for each transaction, for each sales amount transaction, I will check whether it's a negative sales, and if so, the value will be 1 of the indicator, and if it isn't negative, it will be 0. The same thing will be done with the sales amount. So when it's negative, I will record the absolute sales amount within this field, otherwise I will record 0. The modifications made within our data source view will be shown within the reseller sales facts. So what I did, I simply used a tree view, and you can notice the sales amount indicators in the bottom of the left, and I pulled them into my reseller sales magic group. So now my measure group also contains those simple data quality indicators which reside in the data source. Move on to the KPI. So let's take a look at our key performance indicator. It will show the sales amount effect, the data quality sales amount, which is the absolute value of the negative sales being found. And the goal expression will be the total sales amount being found. Next to this, when we compute the ratio between those two, we choose a traffic light, and in here we define it shouldn't be lower than 1%, otherwise if it doesn't meet 1%, it will be shown red. The traffic light will be shown red. Let's take a look at our action pane. Within our action pane, we define the URL drill through. So it's a drill through to our client application. As a target type, I've chosen the cube, and the condition is when the indicator is above 0, which actually means a negative transaction, the drill through will be enabled and shown in the client application. In here we choose URL. We have a static part, a static string, which is the base URL, and the additional member name, which often specifies the specific form ID to drill through to. So what is shown is the reporting services report, which you notice here. And we have a tablix at the canvas of the report, which consists of country, state profits, and reseller sales. It contains 3 fields. And these fields are sourced by the data set, which you will find at the right bottom of the screen. So, sales amount sources the tablix. And here at the preview pane, you can actually notice the figures. The negative sales. We have a query designer in here. It filters on the geography and the reseller. And you will notice the measures do origin from the key performance indicator. So you can pick the value, the goal, and the status of the performance indicator. So this data set, negative sales, will be sourcing our gauge. So let's look after our gauge, which is here. And the gauge is, we can add multiple indicators to a gauge, which reflects fields within our data set. we will notice some problems when we're going to use the properties which reside within the indicator or in the gauge. For instance, the value, well, this is a simple one that you can source it with a sales amount, but the boundaries are problematic. They need or constants or they need fields from within your cube. And we define the value as a property of the KPI. Same goes for the URL. It also expects a field, and we define the URL action instead of a separate field which sources URL. So we need to catch up with a different strategy to source the reporting service report to contain single logic.